Is private instances and playing in the open world with other players. Everything scales to your level. So, like, you can wander the overworld and never have to worry about, being bum rushed by things that are too powerful or not getting any XP because your face rolling creature is 15 levels lower than you. There's a race. The first 1,000 people that hit level 100 in hardcore are literally going to get their names carved into a statue that Blizzard is going to put up outside their HQ. So there's like a lot of stuff going on, and I can hear the fan.
Oh. Hey, I see Trish is with us. So this is important. We've been meaning to say something, and I haven't actually had Cameron in the studio with me at the same time that Trish has been watching. So, special message for my mother-in-law going out after the intro. Good morning, and I guess I should bring this guy on the camera as well. Ever since the update, my flippin' remote doesn't work correctly, so I'm having to do this in the software.
That's good enough for rock
I disapprove of. So, all right, good morning. So, Trish.
Yeah, the maker of the jalapeno salt, which is delicious. I never knew jalapeno salt was a thing I wanted in my life, but I have discovered, for me at least, I like a wee bit sprinkled on my burgers, good on eggs. What was the thing Feed said? No, trust me, put jalapeno salt on this one.
Ooh, I think it was some pasta that we had. I think it was like an Alfredo pasta that we did.
I wasn't here for the Alfredo. Maybe it was when she was like, "No, Cameron, trust me, sprinkle some on your cheeseburger." In fact, I think it was the burger.
Yeah, the jalapeno salt. I mean, guys, my mother-in-law grew jalapenos and turned it into a seasoning salt, and it's fucking witchcraft. It's
yeah. It's definitely
delicious witchcraft. So, speaking of witchcraft, the SPLC is up to its old tricks.
Yes.
Like spirit cooking.
Okay. Yeah, the Southern Poverty Law Center. No.
We're going to be talking about two overtly political organizations today. Okay, Moms for Liberty and the Southern Poverty Law Center. Moms for Liberty is a group of mothers who have been attending and protesting. It's basically an activism group that is actively opposing things like pornographic material in elementary schools. And there's been this, the lefties keep saying, oh, they're all about banning books. Let's be very clear about this. The books that these nutjob right-wing conservatives seek to remove from public schools are books like the book Genderqueer, which includes graphic illustrations of men performing oral sex on one another. Right? Other books which include things like detailed instructions on how, as a minor child, you can sign up for the Grindr app and use it to engage in illicit sex with adults. These are the kinds of books that they're talking about when they say, oh, the right's burning books and banning books. The books that we're talking about are instruction manuals on engaging in deviant sexual activities that are being presented with full graphic pornographic illustrations and being handed to 6, 7, and 8-year-old children. Now, I'm not super happy about the idea of handing that to 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. But there is a space in the world where, you know, that's kind of the sweet spot where people start to play around and lose their virginity. And there's
you have your driver's license.
Yeah, you have a driver's license.
You can't control what they can't control what they do when they have driver's licenses. you know, that's
and like we've talked on the show before. Can you imagine what our teenage years would have been like if there were Tinder and Uber?
Yeah, I'd have like 10 kids.
It'd be a very different. Yes, this would be a very different world.
And I already have 4, and I do mean right. I have like 10.
Yeah, it would be. I ended up with 4 the right way.
So anyhow, you know, I kind of have this internal eye roll about any of these mom groups because of moms demand action.
Correct.
And
that's a fair assessment.
And look, man, I get it. A bunch of women get together and demand a thing. In and of itself, and excuse me for just like the blatant sexism here. Oh, but really a group of women got together and decided to bitch to fix a problem? No, you don't say. But in this case, the bitching is illustrative. With a group like Moms Demand Action, what they're demanding is gun control. Okay, right. They think passing laws will make bad people not do bad things. I think in this case with the Liberty Moms, it's a little different. The bitching is important because it highlights the problem. And the problem is they're gaslighting you. They're saying, oh, well, maybe these books are a little risque, but it's okay. It's okay. You don't hate gay people, do you? And because most of us have that automatic aversion to we don't want to be accused of being a racist, a bigot, a homophobe, whatever, we immediately back off until you find out, like, no. Some of these books have instructions on how to sign up for dating apps. And then, of course, the natural question that follows is, well, why does a 7-year-old need to know how to sign up for a dating app?
Exactly. The question isn't, why don't we want them to have access to our children? The question is, why do they want to have access to our children? And now I'm going to be a little critical of the Moms for Liberty for just a moment, because again, we're talking about an activist group that goes to school boards and is activating on behalf of the children against the clearly corrupt government institutions, which have been corrupted by the cult of die. And this is one of their slogans that they repeat often. We do not co-parent with the government. And here's my criticism. I'm sorry, sweetheart. Yes, you do. By sending your children to public schools, you are voluntarily co-parenting with the government. Now, I'm all for what these moms are doing, going in and trying to fix the public schools that that their children are suffering in. But let me be very clear. Get your children out of public schools. That is the single best thing you can do for your children. Sending your children to public schools is not different than going and actively shopping for a church with a rapist preacher to get them on the choir boy court. You are sending your children voluntarily to be sexually abused. And I'm not being hyperbolic. The exposure of pornography and instruction in deviant sexuality to children is the sexual abuse of children. That is not my opinion. That's actually the law. Right? It's kind of like the whole thing about the banning the drag shows, and we've looked at those laws. We've talked about that on this show. Those laws are very clear. It doesn't say you can't be a dude in a dress at Target. It says you can't perform sexual acts performatively in front of minor children. The funny thing about that, it's already illegal to take your minor children into sex clubs, into strip clubs, right? We don't take toddlers to titty bars because it's illegal.
And they would get
It's immoral, it's a bad idea, and they would be hungry. But it's illegal, right? So the whole don't trans the kids, don't do the drag shows in front of the kids. It's kind of like the abortion argument. It's not an argument that we should be having at all, because the fact of the matter is, murder is already illegal. Pornographizing children is already illegal. And it should be. The abuse of children is a crime.
Are you done with the rabbit hole?
I am.
Okay. Southern poverty law. No, go ahead. Just I was waiting on you to bring it back around.
No, okay. So let's hit the SPLC.
Okay, the Southern Poverty Law Center.
What are they? Who are they? What do they do? You're familiar with the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Yeah. I mean, look, they're
They literally exist. The Southern Poverty Law Center's primary function is to conduct organized activities against the political opposition of psychotic leftists. And what they do is they literally are an organization of lawyers who actively go out of their way to conduct libel and slander campaigns. They are an organized criminal group. They are lawyers engaged in crime for political purposes.
That's not exactly what I would have said. I would have said they were a leftist group of lawyers, but fair enough. So
It is the same image.
Have you ever actually seen that episode of The Office? You've never watched The Office.
No, I'm not an Office
So you're just
guy.
familiar with the memetics.
I'm familiar with
not
the memetics.
Yeah. It's the same picture.
It's the same picture.
Yeah. No, my experience with the Southern Poverty Law Center is they're a good measuring stick for if they say a thing is bad, well, it's probably not bad. And if they say a thing is good, it's probably not good. Because that's
Right. If they say it's good, it's the devil. If they say it's bad, it's a cheeseburger with titty sprinkles.
well, no, I said what I said, and but I appreciate your colorful imagery. No, because what happens is you get these groups of lawyers together, and they're lawyers, and they have an ideological bent. They pretend like they don't. They sort of remind me of the news media in the way they say, no, we're just calling balls and strikes, and
You're right.
yeah, we just want to represent the underrepresented minority, and when the gays need the help, and when the blacks need the help, and when all of that, the soft bigotry of low expectations needs the help, they can come to us and we'll help them. So as soon as the Southern Poverty Law Center says, for example, they're a terrorist organization, the Moms for Liberty, that's just funny, because if a group of moms were terrorists, buddy, the grizzly bear effect is real. Okay, don't back mama into a corner if she thinks her children are at risk. But then B, like, God, there's so much. For starters, okay, the language in and of itself. These are lawyers. They understand that the precise words you use are incredibly important. And so I'd be fascinated to understand the pretzel logic that they have to engage in to call these women terrorists. Because when you say terrorist...
Well, in fairness, this hate group. They didn't say terrorist.
Oh, okay.
They're a hate group, and they're an anti-government white supremacy extremist group. They're everything short of terrorists.
I see. So they're an anti-terrorist white supremacy group. Okay, well then, I guess I misunderstood the thrust of where we were going with this.
Well,
I'm using my logic. The last thing they are is a white supremacist group.
Oh yeah, that's easy enough. Let's see this white supremacist group. Well, there's a dark-skinned white supremacist, and the next image, not that one, couple images over, it's look, Alveda King. What do you know? Yeah, white supremacist group. There's Alveda King, and she is not a white supremacist. We know. We've hugged her. I want to pop back to this one real quick. My wife said having a Playboy calendar up in a public space is considered sexual harassment. I got a challenge for you guys. If you've got a government job, go buy yourself a copy. It'll be worth it to send a little money to the author of Genderqueer, the book Genderqueer, and just leave it open to a random page on your desk at your government job and see how that shit works out for you. And let me remind you that the schools we're talking about, public schools, that's a government job. Right? The argument being made by the left against the proliferation of these materia is arguing that we should totally have the Playboy centerfold up on the wall in the classrooms. That's perfectly acceptable. That is the argument they're making, that the display of pornography to prepubescent children is morally good. Not that it's neutral, not that it's something that's not bad.
No, we're the bigot because we don't like it.
It's morally preferable. It's morally good. So the fact is that the SPLC at labeling something as a hate group basically means you should send that group money, because it is a thing is literally the opposite of whatever the SPLC ever says it is. For example, the SPLC by putting Moms for Liberty on their list are saying that Moms for Liberty are identical to the KKK, which is funny because Moms for Liberty, there's a big difference there between Moms for Liberty and the KKK. For example, the Moms for Liberty, by and large, vote Republican.
Well, and there's more than like 12 of them.
Yeah.
Like, guys, I hate to break it to you, but I think you beat the KKK. Just say it. Just Super Saiyan, okay? Like, for real.
Wow. Nerd. So.
No, but when you get a group of lawyers together and they do this activity, they create problems where none exist. And then, like, I don't know if you heard about this, but you don't even have to be white to be a white supremacist anymore. You
mean like Larry Elder, the black face of white supremacy?
Yeah, well, I mean, you could just, like they're all Uncle Ruckuses, apparently. Like, I don't... If you get that joke, congratulations.
Dude, I'm afraid that just mentioning Uncle Ruckus is enough to get us a strike for hate speech.
Why?
I'm a big fan.
Why? That cartoon was created by a black leftist. I'm just referencing it correctly in context.
With Samuel L. Jackson as the white...
As the white terrorist.
White terrorist.
Yes. That shows. My favorite one is still the Christmas episode where with Santa Claus.
Oh God.
Gonna pay what he owe.
That's for you, babe. What's that? It's my conversation gun. I loaded it this morning. Oh, so
no, but you get a group of these lawyers together and they create problems where none exist, because if they don't have a thing to litigate against, then they don't have a reason to exist anymore. It's not like McDonald's. McDonald's is always going to exist in some form or another because there's always going to
robots.
McDonald's is always going to exist in some form or another because there's always going to be a need for you to quickly pull through the drive-thru and get a sack full of cheeseburgers to feed your crumb catchers on the way to the soccer field. That's just going to be a thing that needs to exist. It's convenient. However, if the vast majority of us eschew racism and say it's bad and publicly shame our peers who engage in it, and then by extension you end up with all other forms of bigotry going the way of the dodo, well, there's no reason for something like the NAACP or the SPLC to exist. So they have to create controversy in order to continue to exist. And so calling a group like this basically a bunch of white supremacists, well, brother, like they just gave themselves like a decade worth of work. Because they got to fight those evil white supremacists down in Florida. Rob Hova says, if McDonald's still had ashtrays, I'd still go there. You know, I miss ashtrays in Waffle House.
You know,
that's the one I miss.
That's what got me
smoking. This ashtrays in Waffle House.
That's a tangent. I'm going to step off that because I was about to let myself get really derailed down that tangent. So I think we're gonna kind of wrap up on this here. I've got an article here from the Free Beacon. Senator Cotton seeks IRS investigation into SPLC's tax-exempt status. Yeah, that's a thing to remember. Is this is a political agitator group. This is believe a 501c3. Something like that. Senator Tom Cotton is seeking an investigation into the tax-exempt status of the left-wing Southern Poverty Law Center, according to a letter provided by the Washington Free Beacon. 501c3. Cotton sent the letter to the IRS April 2nd and urges an investigation of whether the SPLC should retain its classification as a 501c3 nonprofit organization amid news reports that have verified the long-established fact that the SPLC regularly engages in defamation of its political opponents. What did I say? It's not that they regularly engage in defamation of political opponents. Defamation is literally their mission. It is the only thing that they do. The SPLC has garnered massive amounts of cash for its operations. The Washington Free Beacon reported in early March that the group has $518 million in assets, with $120 million now offshore. Right? Ooh, I wonder why the big scary group is offshoring its shit. Let's see. Alex says, I disagree with that entirely. How is this any different from the IRS targeting conservative groups? There are rules, Alex.
Actually,
and when the IRS was targeting conservative groups, it had selected groups that appeared to be conservative and sought to deny them the actual inclusion in the 501c3 status. It refused to allow them to acquire the status to begin with. What we're talking about with the SPLC is they have gained the status of the 501c3, and Cotton is making the argument that they have broken the rules that are required of them, that they're required to follow in order to maintain that 501c3 status. So it is possible that the conservative groups that had been targeted by the Lois Lerner scandal would have gone on to violate the rules and thereby legally lost their 501c3 status. But the facts that we have suggest that they had applied in accordance with the rules and should have been granted the status to begin with. Now, if the SPLC has broken the rules that by acquiring the 501c3 status, they agreed to operate under, then absolutely they should lose that protection. And to be fair, I won't make the claim that I'm certain that they have broken those rules, because I'm not entirely certain how the rules under the 501c3 governance deal with the activity of oppositional defamation. But that the SPLC is engaged in defamation as its primary business is undeniable. If that is an activity that's forbidden by the 501c3 rules, then yeah, it's that makes it a very different creature than the IRS targeting conservative groups that you're talking about. Did I miss anything?
No, that's not where I was going to go with it at all. I was actually going to say something entirely different. I'm actually willing to agree with Alex's point. And there's part of me that's just like, when do we start fight? God damn it, that would have sounded so much better if I hadn't tripped over my own words. When do we start fighting fire with fire? Like, do I like it? No. Do I hate it? Yes. Do I like to think that I have principles that are immutable? Of course I do. We all do. But the reality is, none of us do. All of us will bend our principles if we're backed into a deep enough corner. And I don't know. Are we there yet? Like, I've spent my entire adult life saying things like the SPLC and the way the IRS conducts business generally are terrible, and I keep getting called a bigot because I support stuff like the Moms for Liberty that just don't want you to show porn to their children. Like, right. That's where the line is.
Well, it seems to me that one of the problems that we face as conservatives, and kind of rule of law type of guys, the correct answers to many of the questions that we have is mere proper law enforcement, right? I mean, not to beat the dead horse, but like I've repeated, we don't need to ban abortion because murder's already a crime, right? And that hey, why don't we just enforce the law thing goes to a lot of places. Oh, you brought your children into a bar where adults are performing sex acts or simulated sex acts. You have now committed a crime. I don't care if it's dudes in dresses who are sodomizing each other instead of a man and a woman sodomizing each other on a stage for adult consumption. The fact is that they are not, and I'll even concede a claim that the leftist makes. Those two things are not materially or substantively different, right? The straight sex on the stage and the two dudes in a dress doing whatever that is on a stage are not substantively or morally different and are both illegal. It's a crime to let them into the establishment. It's a crime to take them to the establishment. Arrest the bar owner, arrest the performers, arrest the parents. And I'll even give you a maybe on the performers because it might be a dark room with bright spotlights and they can't see into the audience and have nothing to do with the fact that there are children there, right? If that's the case, okay, maybe these two guys are just weird, but not intentionally committing a crime. But somebody let the kids in and somebody brought the kids there. Hey. Same thing with the just showing pornography to children in the public school. Hey, if you've got a teacher, in fact, there was a case recently. I think we have mentioned on the show. A teacher was just removed from her position, precisely because a bunch of parents called the police and filed criminal complaints because the teacher was showing, and in this case it was the book Genderqueer, and I forget the name of the other one, but the other book was the one with the instruction manual on using Grindr. And that teacher, we found out about this because she went on TikTok and did this whole thing about how she was being targeted by hate groups for her personal choices. It's like, no, not for your personal choices, for your sexual assault of children.
Hey, because it's somewhat related, have you heard about the latest Jussie Smollett?
I think I saw a headline referencing something. No, tell me.
So,
I don't know the details.
Elliot Page claims that somebody...
Zipper tits.
What? Yes. Yes, that's correct. And the weirdest abs ever. It disturbs me. No, Elliot Page claims...
They're airbrushed. I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's something. We just
Maybe not.
We just took the fat out from here and then rearranged it down here. Anyhow, Elliot Page claims that she was assaulted and was told, "We're gonna gay bash you." It's like, hey, did they tell you it was MAGA country when they were done? However, some group like the SPLC is going to jump in and go, well, this happens all the time. How dare you make that joke?
It's like the Rolling Stone article about the lacrosse team that gang raped the chick. Oh, turns out totally
it didn't
lie.
Happen at all.
Completely fabricated.
Yeah, got an entire lacrosse
Well, yeah,
team.
but we're gonna leave the story up because the spirit of the story is important because it's representative of this event that totally happens all the time. Really, that's interesting.
And you wonder why I hate representation?
If the event happens all the time, show me.
Yeah, show me an actual example.
Point to one. You know what I can point to? I can point to New York aborts more black children than are born. Hey, what do you know? That's an actual thing. So, all right. I think we need to put a pin in it right there because it is 8 o'clock and I have to be in Griffin. So.
Right? Come back tomorrow?
Good to have you back today, brother.
Yeah.
Y'all, thanks for watching this morning. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.